here's the thing. For everybody listening, don't make the same mistake the Bengals just did in any facet of your life.
People are going to get hurt. It's the hockey season.
What about the Jared Cook play on the sideline?
I was very tempted to just put defense.
I'm saying it right now. If Anthony Davis is out for the playoffs, they don't make it out of the first round.
Come on, Austin and I have been saying this ever since Joe Burrow got injured.
I don't really think the Dodgers are going to make the World Series this year. I feel like they'll make it to the NLCS.
The Fernando Tatis extension, because that really surprised me.
Like you said, Ovechkin, he's getting older. He hasn't been playing as well as I imagined. He's one of the greatest goal scorers of all time, but he hasn't started off this season as hot as I would hope.
Hi, I'm Jeff Allen, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NFL Opinions of the Week. And a team that I always thought I knew they were trouble, but the man that posed this question, Austin.
Kevin, the Titans have really turned the page. And I'll compare this a little bit to the Falcons because they also have a new head coach, and they're going all in with that coach. You don't trade for L'Jarius Sneed, sign Awuzie and Ridley and Pollard without having some sense of belief in this team and wanting to go far. I'm excited for this upcoming year. What have you taken out of these moves?
So these moves are like good, and I thought they were going to go, we're going to take a little reset. No, they're going in. They're making moves, and I like the moves. Tony Pollard is a good back. They can pair him with Spears, and they got Calvin Ridley. We'll see what Hopkins does, but this is a team that they have their first round pick this year. I wonder what.
Let me check.
Because I know I've talked about this for every team when we're talking about wide receiver depth, but what if they go first? What if they go first round pick?
They're pick 7.
They're pick 7. Ooh.
Yep.
So, man, like you could get a premier wide receiver right there.
Yeah, you could get. You said they could get who?
No, I'm just saying. I know I've talked about it with all the other teams, but I think with the legit class of wide receivers, you should consider maybe I can go get a wide receiver, and they're 7.
Or go for an O-lineman. I know the Titans have struggled with O-line, and you could get Joe Alder, one of the premier offensive linemen, really high.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I'm just a little perplexed. How does Mike Vrabel feel?
That's true. They weren't making these types of moves with him. I guess the best move they made recently for him was DeAndre Hopkins, but that wasn't really out of this world.
Specifically defense, too. I now get... Man, I would like to coach Chidobe Awuzie and L'Jarius Sneed, but I didn't really have that. But maybe he may have been pushing for different moves. I think that was why they voted. He got kicked out because the GM and him were feuding. So maybe the GM's like, okay, I'm fighting for my job now. But I like the addition of Sneed. I don't know if you want to talk about the Chiefs, but it's just something. It's a hard decision you have to make with this cap for the Chiefs. And I think choosing Jones over Sneed was the better option.
I agree, but I definitely think this makes the Titans defense scary.
Yeah.
They still have a good D line, not obviously as good as it has been because some of the guys have left, but they still have a good D line. And now adding great corners, it should be a very, very good defense.
Yeah, I think Sneed was fantastic. Can he do it again? We'll have to see, but he's a good corner. And Chidobe Awuzie, he was with the Cowboys. He's just a solid player. And I think he's a great corner to have. I think he's a great number 2 corner. Sneed is that playmaking guy. Sneed made a play in the AFC Championship game. So I think having those 2 lockdown corners really gives, you mentioned the defensive line not being as good. I think that gives the defensive line a little bit more time. There's the idea of coverage sacks, and there can be a little bit more playmaking on the back end. And I'm curious what they do with safety, but this is a really good start for a team. And Awuzie could help with the locker room. He knows the head coach, so that could be another reason why he came. And it really, while I talked about the Chiefs, this is a good move for the Titans. This is a good opportunistic move. seeing, oh, the Chiefs are in trouble, we'll make an offer and we'll get Snead. Pair up very nicely, and we'll just have to see what else they do.
Yeah, and I do you think that with the 7th pick that they go away from QB? Because I know they have. Did they release Tannehill? Because I know he has a contract. Oh yeah, they did, right?
They did release him. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did because it says current dead contracts and for Tannehill, and next year he's getting paid the 9.2 signing bonus that they couldn't get out of, but he's a free agent, and I think I'm trying to figure that out, but every time I search him up, it doesn't really come up with what I wanted to see. But I just wanted to ask: do you think that Will Levis will be the starter, or do you think that they'll go? Yeah, he's a free agent. Taylor's a free agent, so it's really only Will Levis on the and Malik
Willis.
Yeah, I guess it's Will Levis and Malik Willis.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I didn't think of that. Maybe, depending on how it falls, such as, because it seems like what they're expecting in the draft is 1, 2, 3 are all quarterbacks, but like, it seems like Jaden Daniels is slated to go number 2 pick. That just shocks me, or I didn't expect him. Like, he's not number 2 pick in this draft. I'm gonna say Will Levis stays. That's why I'm thinking wide receiver, because they want to make sure Will Levis works. But you could also go offensive lineman. I think at 7, one of the big 3 of Marvin Harrison, Romeo Odunze, and Neighbors are at 7. And I think those are the top 3 guys right now.
Yeah, Neighbors, Adunze, and I mean Harrison probably won't be there, but we'll see. I do think they'll probably go O-line because their O-line struggled, and they do have now Ridley and Hopkins played well last year, and Ridley, while he had a down year, him being a wide receiver 2 or even 1B, 1A situation there, I do think will help him out. We can kind of go into predicting how this team fares. And I know that we still have to do the draft and everything, but could the Titans be a playoff team?
I think they can, especially, and back to your point, I think offensive line, you and I are pro offensive lineman podcast, so that would be a good move here, and the Titans should be able to compete, because Texans are in that division. We're expecting a lot from the Texans, however, something could go wrong. 2, Jaguars, can they be consistent enough? Then 3, you got the Titans. So I think the Titans can be in the mix.
Well, I'm higher, I think, on the Titans than I am the Jaguars after their second half collapse last year. I know they made some good moves, getting other D linemen and other places because they also signed Gabe Davis, but they ended up losing Calvin Ridley. So I'm not extremely sold on the Titans this year. The Texans, I definitely think will win the division, though. I think that the Titans could be pushing for a 6 or 7 seed in the playoffs. I think that it's really going to depend on Will Levis. It always kind of does depend on the QB, but if they get him enough protection and wide receiver help, along with a viable run game with Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears, I could definitely see them making a playoff run.
Yeah, and I believe the head coach is Brian Callahan. This is why you bring him in, because the Titans ownership wants to focus on offense. They want to focus on Will Levis. So this is really going to be on Brian Callahan. What can you do for this Titans offense to elevate them?
And then one last question is, what do you think their biggest draft need is? So this isn't necessarily who they take with their top pick. If the best player available is whatever, they may take him. But I would argue their best or their biggest draft need is O-lineman, which is why I kind of shade them picking O-lineman. But I could also see safety because after they traded Kevin Byard to the Eagles, they kind of are slim at that spot.
Yeah, I'm kind of going to defensive because they've drafted I think they drafted Peter Skoronski.
Yes.
So they've tried to make it, but you can never have too much O lineman. But to me, I forgot they have Treylon Burks.
They do have Burks. Yes.
Forgot about that. Okay. Yeah, so wide receiver's not really a need. But so I would go. I agree. Safety, maybe D end, something on the defensive to really bolster up that defense.
Yeah, I really do like how their defense is set up, especially if they do end up drafting quality safeties. Do you think they have the chance of trading down potentially?
I think that would be a great move if they want to do that, because I think this is also a great offensive line draft. So they could trade down, get an offensive lineman, and then use that extra pick on another defensive player. Because I think this defense needs a lot of work, especially when you don't have someone with the mind of Mike Vrabel and getting
Yeah,
a
they
lot.
have Terrell Edmonds. I forgot they traded for him last year. He was a part of the Kevin Byard trade as
Oh,
one of
yeah.
their safeties. However, he did not play well at all. I remember Terrell Edmonds playing well for the Steelers for a couple of years, but last year he really, really, really struggled. Snead, obviously, they don't need a corner after they got Snead
Yeah, no,
and
no.
Awuzie. And so I'm pretty confident in that. But I do think that they're going to need another safety because I know they also have Amani Hooker, and he was okay last year, but they need to draft a safety, and I don't know necessarily how great. Like, where's the highest safety being taken? Could they?
That's a good question.
Because I think if they have the chance of getting a good safety in the end of the first round, I could see them trading down.
Yeah, I don't think I see safety getting taken in the first round, or at least in this athletic mock draft.
I guess Kuba John is kind of a safety, sort of, but I don't think he wants to play safety. I think he wants to play corner, kind of because of the situation around him.
So you got yeah, I think you just mentioned him. Javon Bullard, Jaden Hicks, Cameron Kitchens.
Yeah, I think Kitchens is the one that I'm seeing the highest ranked. Yeah, or no, it's actually Tyler Nubin.
Oh, okay, Tyler Nubin. Yeah, I was
He's
unsure.
projected on the PFF big board ranking right now at 25. So could you see them trading down to the bottom of the second round, giving up their 7th pick because they've made all these moves, maybe getting another draft pick because that would be a very valuable draft pick to have, and especially such a good draft, trading down to 24, 23 and taking Tyler Nubin?
Yeah, they could do that. But I also think there's benefit in having the 7th overall pick because they would get their top pick of alignment.
That's true. I could definitely see that. And maybe they could just take I mean, they're going to have a high second round pick as well.
Yeah.
So I could definitely see them just waiting and hoping that one of those top safeties, because the second best safety they have is Javon Bullard, and his big board rank is 48. So they could definitely get him in the second round if Tyler Nubin does end up going in the first. And if Tyler Nubin falls all the way to the second round, at that point, you're screaming for joy.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. But yeah, it's this draft could really help elevate them in competing for a playoff spot, or it could kind of delay it. But we'll just have to see. I'll toss this over to you.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening. What was your favorite move the Titans made this offseason, and where do you project them to be this year? Thank you guys for listening, and please catch us in the next video.